This is one of those conversations that I know is going to make some people uncomfortable. And honestly, it makes me a little uncomfortable too. But oftentimes, uncomfortable conversations are the most important ones to have. I can usually understand why people end up where they do politically. I can understand why someone can become convinced that their political party is the only moral choice, or why they start believing the other side is an existential threat. Those ideas don't usually happen overnight. They're built over years through relationships with family, friends, churches, the media, and the whole gamut of their own life experiences. So I'm less interested in pointing fingers at individuals on any one side than I am in pointing out the most glaring flaws that I see in the trains of thought that lead to what look like delusional choices from an outside perspective.
What concerns me most isn't whether someone is Republican or Democrat. It's what happens when that's all we see in one another. When we reduce people to a party label, we stop seeing neighbors, friends, even fellow Americans. We just see the other side. And I think that's incredibly dangerous. It threatens our democracy, it erodes our integrity, and it changes who we become as individuals and as a nation. I don't want us to lose the ability to disagree while losing our humanity, because once that happens, it's awfully hard to find our way back.
So, I took a personality assessment here a while back that pointed out something that I'd never really put into words before. I, Callie, am endlessly curious. My brain doesn't organize information into neat little boxes. Everything connects to everything else. I'm constantly collecting perspectives or facts or stories or experiences from everybody around me. I'm always trying to understand why people think the way that they do. So when I meet somebody who's absolutely certain, who's convinced that they've got the whole picture and everyone else is wrong, I honestly don't really know what to do with that. Not because I don't believe truth exists, but because I've learned that the more I know, the more I realize how much I don't know. That's why this conversation fascinates me. I want to understand how we got to a place where certainty seems to be more valuable than curiosity. Welcome to Two Millennials and Mom. I'm Callie.
I'm Cole.
And I'm mom.
So, we're constantly, Callie's over here constantly putting in all kinds of inputting all kinds of data. Some of it is true and factual, some of it is subjective, some of it is objective, all kinds of stuff. And typically one of two things happens. I, Callie, go down a nice little rabbit hole and start tinkering with everything, all the different aspects and facets of it. What's true, what isn't true, where it came from, how it originated. I'm horrible to watch movie and TVs with because I have questions. I pause. You don't have to agree so wholeheartedly. Thank you both. Gosh. But I have questions. I want to know where this was filmed or when, or what was that other movie that they were in? Like, I have all these questions. The
Next
other
time,
kind
I'm
of
just going to get you a notepad and we'll address it at the end.
You say that the last
I don't,
time I took notes was for that podcast that you sent, the Scott Galloway podcast. And I think I took 3 pages of notes in an hour and a half, like nut to butt, like everything was, I just had questions. I wanted to talk about it. The other alternative
That's
outcome
okay.
it is that I shoot them to you guys. Hey, I don't know anything about this. What do you know? Where do you stand? What makes this, like, what feelings and emotions does this evoke for you? What am I missing here? And so you guys have always been such a good sounding board for me. And that's kind of how this started. So I sat here with a whole thing by this guy. It was talking about Ken Paxton, which was my immediate like, "Ooh, hold on. I wanna read this. I wanna know." And so I'm gonna read it to all of us here really quick. It's by this guy named Tim Whitaker. I don't know him from Adam. I don't know anything about him or what he stands for other than the few little pieces that I've gathered with this. And I'm not by any stretch saying that I agree with everything that he says all the time, always, every time. But I did think that this was really fascinating. So I'm going to read you a quote from Tim Whitaker. who is the founder of the New Evangelicals. So it says Texas is about to hold a Senate primary race that exposes precisely everything I've been telling you about how morally bankrupt evangelical Christianity is in America today. I couldn't create a better example if I tried. On one side, you have James Tallarico, a seminary trained, openly Christian Democrat who talks about feeding the poor and healing the sick, a man who cites scripture often. He has no major scandals. He was born and raised in the church. He genuinely wants to make the world a more kind and fair place. On the other side, you have Ken Paxton, a man who has had two affairs that led to the destruction of his own marriage, was accused of bribes, let a pedophile escape any kind of consequences, and was impeached by his own Republican colleagues. I'm not exaggerating. Despite Paxton's laundry list of scandals, evangelical leaders, without hesitation, without embarrassment or shame, are going to bat for the corrupt one while comparing James Tallarico to Satan. For those Christians, the criteria was never who actually follows the way of Christ. The criteria has always been what letter is next to their name on the ballot. As a former evangelical, I can tell you that the logic goes something like this. Sure, maybe a Republican candidate isn't perfect, but he's going to be much better than any Democrat. This indoctrination that Democrats are always worse than any Republican candidate is very powerful. It's part of what makes it so hard to break through to the people still in the dark, damp basement of evangelicalism. Maybe you had friends who were more conservative but didn't like Trump, but they thought that Biden or Harris would be so much worse. They've been taught since day one nothing is worse than a Democrat in power. Nothing. That liberals hate God, they hate religion, they hate faith, they hate Christianity, they hate the family, they hate America. So vote for us to restore those things. I can tell you from firsthand experience as a child raised on talk radio, I heard this framing day in and day out from people like Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity. It was reinforced in the social circles I swam in and in the media I consumed. The reality is this. For a significant segment of American Christianity, the faith has been quietly, gradually, and almost completely converted into a vehicle for cultural power and societal control. It's not primarily about salvation or discipleship. It's not following the way of the risen Christ. It's about control. So when you go into a voting booth and look at Ken Paxton on one side and James Tallarico on the other side, you're not asking which of these men follows the way of Jesus. You're asking which of these men will advance laws that keep us in power. Which of these men will appoint judges that protect our cultural dominance? Which of these men will hold the line against the pluralism that threatens everything we've built? Trump did teach evangelicals something important. You don't need a moral man. You need a useful man, a man who will do what needs to be done, who will sign what you need signed, who will appoint the people to the Supreme Court that you need appointed. Character is irrelevant for that agenda. Utility is everything. End quote.
There's part of that I understand.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, especially early on when you're talking about, to me, to really kind of simplify it, you have a sheep in wolf's clothing and you have a wolf in sheep's clothing. And he's saying that they can't tell the difference, or at least that they're
Choosing not to.
maybe, yeah, they're choosing to say, well, that wolf is wearing sheep's clothing, so he's part of our herd, and that sheep is wearing wolf's clothing, so he's not.
That's a really good analogy, Cole.
Well, and here's the truth. Not one person exemplifies all of that in one basket. I mean, we all have such variety and experience that I think it's so dangerous to say, well, if you were a Democrat, you were evil, because that's just not true.
But it's easy. You can just lump everybody into these really vast, all encompassing buckets, and you don't have to put thought into them.
I mean, you
Do you
say
think,
it's
and this is
easy,
a little bit
but
of a
it
tangent
isn't.
here, but do you think that's just a result of the fire hose of information? We're getting so much that instead of actually taking the time to analyze all of it, we're just throwing it into baskets.
I think that that's
I
part of it.
I think a lot of it is our social media. because I think so much of our social media has a slant. And who were we talking about the other day? And they said incels have the best marketing. They know exactly what they need to say and how to say it to get the most for their money.
Yeah, are really good at proliferating this message. Whatever the message may be, they boil it down to these couple of words and spread and spread and spread that message like wildfire. And it sticks and it stays.
And I think that's what we've done here. We've heard so much. I mean, you cannot listen to a single candidate, very few candidates, that don't allude that the other side is evil.
Yeah, it's never, "This is what I'm gonna do for you," it's, "The other guy is bad."
The other guy's evil. Can you believe this is what they want? And you take it and you twist it into a message that people go, "Oh, no." And it's on both sides. This is not unique to one party or
No,
the other.
they both have the same playbook.
Yeah,
And it's because, like I've been saying, they're both on the same team.
hard to argue. But I do think because what Whitaker is saying and the little bit of research that I did on him, he kind of has started an anti-Christian national actually,
A progressive evangelical
Movement.
movement.
Hmm.
yeah, they're calling it evangelicals in some places because he does believe that we've moved so closely to this Christian nationalist
Agenda.
mentality, or
Hmm.
is that a mentality, or the story here that we've lost connection to real Christianity, what it was supposed to be about. And if you look at some of this, I mean, there are people currently in the administration who are saying things that it sounds really good that they're quoting, Bible or scripture, but when you look at the when you move out and you look at the picture, it really has very little to do with biblical
Actions.
theory
Yeah.
or
Wait,
doctrine.
they're soundbiting the Bible now?
Yes.
It's not new.
It 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 is new in the amount and the capacity and the way it's being done, I think, Cole.
And the overtness of it in which it is being done.
Yeah,
And
the
so
overtness of it.
I think Ken Paxton is a great example of this. You have this Christian man who, I mean, there's new stuff that just came out this week about him running around somewhere else with one of his mistresses. He's not divorced. I'm sure they're separated. I mean, so I'm not here to judge, but at the same time, like, what is it that your principles are actually built on and standing on?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
How do
The
you
integrity is lost.
how do you stand and say that you are a Christian and that you believe in the Bible and you believe in Jesus, and yet, I mean, in essence, you're voting for a Pharisee? I mean, that's what it kinda comes down to.
Yeah. Which is,
I mean,
again, it goes back to the way that my brain works. Like, I'm sitting here in dating profiles going, "He says he's a Christian. I'm gonna need more information. What kind of Christian are you? What does that mean to you?" And I'm willing to go and ask those questions, and I think that a large percentage of our population isn't. Not isn't willing to have the conversation, isn't willing to have the discussion or ask the
because
questions.
most of the interactions that they've had were on Facebook with a loud, crazy one.
Agreed, agreed. And I'm not making excuses for those situations by any stretch.
Sure.
I mean, I think I'm just maybe more of a glutton for punishment. I'm trying to find them. But I guess, like, the next thing that leads me to in terms of questions is, when does faith shape our politics, and when do politics reshape our faith? Because I feel like we're in a weird time zone, kind of time warp right now, where, Cole, we were talking about this previously. How did you say it? You said it when we were sitting down to eat dinner, like, you're going to vote with with your
In accordance with your faith.
yes. And that part I can get. I still have questions about it, but that part I can get. But at what point do you have to recognize that your voting is dictating your faith?
Well, and I'm going to point out here, there's a distinction between your faith and religion.
Yes.
Yes.
And so if you want to be religious, that's
But
a
not
set
everyone
of
makes that distinction.
agreed. But I think it definitely is. And I think that comes down to religion is a set of rules where faith is a set of beliefs. And so if you're going to say, I believe in X, and you take that faith and say, then this is how I'm going to vote because I believe in X. And so it has to be mirrored in this candidate. Or if you just say, well, this is my religion, and you just look at what the religion dictates,
Yeah,
those
so
could be two
it's
very different
not
things.
having faith in the principles of the underlying religion, it's having faith in the religion itself.
I feel like this is not a chicken or the egg kind of
Yeah.
analogy here. It's more horse before the cart. Like one
Yeah.
has to come first, right? It's not, well, we're not really sure. Like one has to dictate the other. And I feel like if you're being really honest with yourself, no matter what your religion is, no matter what faith you claim to hold, your faith, your religion has to dictate your politics, not the other way around.
Yeah.
I think it's too corrosive for politics to dictate your faith.
That could be
Too
true.
I mean,
turbulent.
from a realistic perspective, I agree. But when I go back and I say that this isn't new, this happened across Europe for 1,000 years. I mean, it literally got to the point. Kings were the heads of their churches, and the
Yeah.
reason they stayed kings is because they got to interpret the word. Popes acted as kings
So
because
is
they got to interpret the word. So that was them converting faith into their policy. And because they got to interpret it, they got to dictate whatever policy they wanted effectively.
But again, I
right.
think that's religion and not faith.
Right. But it's pretty easy to confuse the two if you're not
Poorly
looking
educated.
diligently all
Yeah.
the time. I
Well,
mean,
and
I can
and
drive from here to Dallas. How many churches am I going to drive by?
700.
lots.
A lot. How many of them believe the exact same thing? How many of them have the same pastor every Sunday? Now, do they believe similar things? Probably. But how many of those pastors are going to disagree theologically? Probably a few.
There's not a there's not a convention that I've ever heard of that was based on a group of believers that everybody agreed. It just doesn't happen.
So
That's religion, not faith.
Right.
is that just is that human nature and we're just bound to fail?
I don't think it has to be a failure.
Yeah, I don't think it has to be bound to fail. I do think that's part of human nature.
But I think that if you look at any religion, every religion, eventually they're pushed to the point of failure. And that's not to say that they don't carry on, but that it doesn't work or doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to evolve into something new.
I'm not sure that I can go there with you, but I here's what I've been thinking kind of in the background. I was born in the Bible Belt. I grew up in the Bible Belt. That was what was around me. That was what I understood. That was what I was taught.
Same.
There are other people who were born Hindu or born Muslim, and I don't have the exposure to know what either one of those is like. So I can sit here and say that I'm the only right one, but I really have no basis to know that because I don't even know what theirs are. And I'm only who I am by the luck of the draw of where I was born. I mean,
The circumstances of your existence.
the likelihood of me being Muslim in a little southern town is pretty dang limited. And so if you just accept the exposure that you're given and you don't ask any questions or think anything at all about that, that's religion. That's
Yeah, that's not having faith necessarily.
So
Having faith doesn't eliminate the ability to ask questions.
I'm sitting here mentally quoting scripture. So Hebrews 11:1 defines faith as being sure of what you hope for and certain of what you do not see. And I just sit here and apply that definition in this conversation, in this context, and it kind of helps.
in what way do you think it helps? Because I'm sitting here thinking
You can't
you
ask
can
that
take and
question
apply
because the
that.
answer sucks.
Why?
Because it isn't real until it is.
You've
That is
lost us.
that is what faith is.
Oh,
It's like that analogy about, or there's like an old story about, well, I believe in trees because I can see trees, and I believe in this because I can see it. Well, do you believe in the wind? No, but I can feel it. That doesn't make the wind not real. And I just think that faith is believing in something that isn't real, air quotes, until it is. And maybe that until doesn't take place until the afterlife. Oh, yes, I am walking through the gates of heaven, going to meet my maker. Like whatever that may look like for you, it isn't real until it kind of too late for it
Realized.
to not be real. Yeah, until it's realized. Religion is rules and identity and community and lines of thought. Faith is believing in it.
I think it's the hope and believing in it, but I come right back. You can use that quote, and it is a biblical quote, but it only applies to Christians?
I don't think that it does. That's why I specifically called it out as a definition. The Bible just happens to define
Yeah.
it in a way that makes sense in my brain. I mean, but that could be depending on how you feel about the Bible, which I am not the number
Not what we're
one.
here for today.
Yeah, not what we're here for today. I mean, but like it could be the difference of reading Webster's dictionary versus the another one that I can't think of the name for right now.
Urban Dictionary.
No.
That works.
I mean, okay.
I mean, it works in the
Yeah.
analogy, but
Yeah.
so I get that. And that's a really deep topic. And we we've tangented here a little bit, but we're talking about
Shocker.
Tim Whitaker
Yeah.
was his name, who
Yeah.
is a progressive
New
evangelical, T&E, the new evangelicals, a
Yeah.
progressive evangelical movement. And the point is to move away from the traditional conservative, patriarchal, hierarchical
Easy for you to say.
organization structure of the traditional Western Christian church, right?
Yes.
But that's the point. And yet, recently, he has come under scrutiny and gone under investigation by a group for essentially being a
Hierarchical
egotistical, yeah, a hierarchical,
Part of the
patriarchal
patriarchy.
tyrant leader of his organization.
which could be passionate, but it
Could also
it
be
does
hypocrisy.
it could also be hypocrisy.
It could be both.
Yeah.
It could. I mean, but I mean, just to bring this back around, again, if we're going to use our religion to identify who we can associate and who we can vote for and who we can trust and who is the enemy, then it feels like something is off on that, because I'm
Well,
not sure that that's the intent of religion.
Well, first of all, I want to point something out here real quick. If you are a follower of Christ, who is the enemy? Because it's
Satan.
certainly not other people who aren't followers of Christ.
But I don't think that the enemy, I guess it depends on which theology you're going to go with. But if you were talking about Christian
A
Followers of
follower of
theology,
Christ.
Christ.
It would
if
be
you're talking
Satan.
about that, then I don't think there are enemies. I mean,
No, explicitly in the Bible, there is the enemy,
Satan.
sin,
sin, and yet we all sin under that same instruction. And so
because we can't not.
because we can't not. So if you're going to say because you sinned you're evil, then by default I have to be evil too.
Yes.
We are.
So this pointing the fingers is saying you're not a Christian, so we have to be against you.
Yeah.
Is
Or defining
Counterintuitive in and of
anathema
itself. Yeah.
to its own
my
doctrine.
defining if you're Christian enough or if you're my kind of Christian is the problem. Because that's not how it works.
No, that's
That's not
just judgment.
that's just judgment.
And that is not our job according to the Bible.
So I go back to then if you keep along with that line of thinking and you come into this partisanship and you decide it's not any different. They're the right kind of Christian, but the Democrats are the wrong kind. And so they're evil, but we're right. As Republicans, it it's the same thing. And it is not biblical. I'm not really even I suppose it is religious in its own way, but I'm just trying to understand where this came from, that all of a sudden we have to have this very hard dividing line, and it doesn't matter. We're not discussing what you think or what I think or where we're alike. We're just deciding I've
How
labeled
to
you this
maintain power.
and
Because
that's
from the
it.
beginning of time, my village had to fight your village for resources. What are the resources what we have to fight over now, especially as Westerners, particularly as Americans? What's the most valuable resource?
Money.
It's these.
Ears?
It's people who will listen to you. It's the power of your voice. It's power.
How much of
Okay.
their time you can take.
Yes.
It's a little warped. It's a little warped.
But it's not new.
Welcome to the
That's-
world, little buddy.
Yeah, no picnic. But again, this is something that is instilled in us. We see it across all kinds of animal species. Wolf packs kill other wolf packs. Chimpanzee groups go to war and murder other chimpanzees. We've been doing it since the dawn of time. It's tribalism because they're different than us. And
Well,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, we know that politics rewards that tribalism. It brings you into this group or that group and rewards you with other quote unquote like-minded people so that you don't have to feel alone. We're all in this together,
Except there's the enemy.
but we're fighting the enemy together.
Sure, we're fighting the enemy together but the blues are fighting their enemy and the reds are fighting their enemy, and there's two enemies. So, 50-50 shot of people hating each other.
But here's the deal. We're deciding who the enemy is without even knowing them.
I'm literally sitting
Yeah,
here thinking, reading, like, going
because they
through
have a
all of
red tie
this.
on or a blue tie on.
I'm literally sitting here reading all of this, like, and I feel like I grew up with the notion that good Christians were constantly reading the word and constantly at church and constantly in community and all of these things, like spending time digging into their faith and testing their faith and coming out victorious. How often do we put even a small percentage of that same dedication of time into something like politics? Hey, I need to go and research all of these candidates and figure out where I stand and go beyond just the letter next to their name on a ballot. How often do we actually spend time digging into the choices that we're making?
I agree with you on that. I don't think there's much time that is spent on that at all.
And then we're confused why we make dumb choices.
But I come back that we make this random, and I say random, it's really not random. It's what we've been fed, maybe from the cradle, maybe from social media. We make this decision that X is right and Y is wrong, and we don't ask any questions about that. We just decide, and we base everything else upon
Because
that
asking
decision.
questions is hard, and I don't have time because I've got kids to feed. I've got
And social
TV to
media to
watch,
scroll.
and I've got Facebook to scroll.
I mean, but isn't that kind of a modern day definition of indoctrination? I believe this, I vote this, so therefore I have to vote this way. I
Yeah.
have to believe that. Again, we're kind of putting the cart before the horse
Yeah.
again.
But then you get down to,
Agree.
I believe X, Y, but I'm gonna vote because they told me to, or because
Because the people that I'm supposed to agree with told me that's who I'm supposed to vote for.
Mhm.
yeah,
Because we're on the same team.
whether it
We
makes
wear the
sense
same
or
color
not,
shirt.
whether, they have the integrity that you've built your entire,
Case on.
yeah, faith on, case on, but they're the ones that I was told. They're the ones that everything in my feed is saying,
This is what I'm
this is the
supposed
right
to
one."
do.
Yeah. So, it I understand that it's old as time. I also question, "Wait a minute, w we're off the rails here. Maybe we should stop and rethink this a little bit and ask some questions. Get
How many
curious."
political parties do we have?
Well, I wish I
Two
could
and two
answer
How
that,
many
halves.
political parties do we really have?
Two and two halves.
It's two.
Uh,
According to James Madison, how many
should
political
be
parties are we supposed to have?
as plentiful as the people who make up the electorate.
Exactly.
you've taught her well.
So right now you have two tribes, and it's really easy when you only have one enemy to just focus on that enemy. But if everybody is their own political party, you can't fight everyone. It becomes an unwinnable battle. So what do you do when you can't beat them?
Join them.
You join them. So if we could stop this tribalism thing and say, okay, yeah, we all feel differently about every different subject. So maybe I don't need this red tie. Or maybe this red tie is just a red tie and it doesn't mean some silly affiliation to some group of people who I think I align with.
It
Maybe
just
I
looks
align with
really good.
myself, and on this topic, I align with him. But on this topic, I align with her. And take a look at every individual topic that way and say, okay, most of us feel this way on this topic. Most of us feel, the rest of us feel this way, instead of, oh, well, you're blue, so you're bad. Oh, you're red, so you're bad. Maybe it's, and we've talked about this, I'm sure, dozens of times. Instead of saying, oh, you wear blue, so you're bad, maybe it's, hey, you wear blue. How do you feel about X, Y, and Z? Here's how I feel about X, Y, and Z. But it's
Uh,
so much harder to do that when you can be miserable going to work and scroll on Facebook and it validates your feelings of frustration because blue guys are bad.
Again, I go back to it's just easy. We
Yeah,
categorize because it's just easier that way. I don't have to invest the time to go and actually come to a conclusion, to dissect any of this, to look into any of this, to verify any of this.
exactly.
So and so told me, so that's what I'm going to do.
I understand what you're saying. And yet, when you give me a candidate who is a confirmed adulterer and that doesn't flag you to say, is that what I believe? Is that what I want to promote?
Because you're doing the hard part, Mom. You're actually asking yourself a question.
So, someone near and dear to me a long time ago used to have this line that they would use with me. And I'm going to use it here for you, Mom. Not everyone is as smart as you are.
And see, I don't think that's a matter of being smart. I think that's a matter of opening your eyes.
I think that being
It's being
curious.
lazy.
Okay. So this runs me right into this other piece of it that I wanted to chat about. I saw Carmion Hamilton, who is an interior designer, talking on social media this week, and I have no idea what it was in reference to or who she was irritated with, but I thought it was really, really good. She had this whole thing about the smartest people in the room tend to be quieter because they know that they don't know everything and they are willing to absorb and listen. Whereas she didn't say it, she said it nicer than this, but I'm going to go this way to paraphrase. The dumb people in the room are the loud ones because they've decided that they know everything and are putting all of that out there for the rest of us to hear and take in.
They have no questions to ask because they've already made up their mind.
Correct. And so going right back to the point that you were just making, you know that you don't know it all. You know that you have to ask questions. You know that you have to go dig in and do some research to figure it out. You know that that's going to be hard and time consuming.
And you know that sometimes that's going to result in you disagreeing with people that you care about.
Yes. And you also know, because this is all of us in this understood you here, you also know that sometimes you're going to be lazy.
That's true.
Amen.
Because
Yeah.
we all do it. I don't want to invest the mental capacity to take this on right now. So I'm just not going to. We
But if
all
you're
do it.
going to do that, don't participate. Don't go shout from the rooftops that you're right.
Yes.
That is the truth.
I think that it just requires if it for me, intelligence requires the ability and interest in being curious.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Because if you're not curious, how are you going to accumulate the knowledge to be intelligent?
Yes. Speaking of intelligence, Cole, do you want to tell us about Mike Johnson?
Oh, you sure you want to? That's a can of worms you want to open right now?
I totally do. I will prop you up on your soapbox.
I, I don't know. To be perfectly honest with you, I've been pretty lazy when it comes to Mike Johnson because he really annoys me. The sheer smugness of his persona, his extremely punchable face, his arrogance drives me up a wall. So I don't really follow him closely or give much credence to anything that he says because I just really don't like him as a person. I don't know that much about him as a politician. I know he wears a red tie, but
Are you
I don't really
judging him
care
based
what
on that?
color tie you wear. If you wear a colored tie to represent your affiliation, I'm probably going to discount your opinion by a pretty significant amount.
Okay, I'm just going to blow you out of the water here. In the video that I saw with him discussing the Democratic Socialist agenda, he has on a blue tie.
It's metaphorical. You know what I mean.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
If you have an R or a D next to your name,
Yes.
I'm
It's
probably going to
marketing.
discount a lot of what you say. Yeah, and I don't care for marketing very much.
It literally, whether it's the color of your tie, whether it's the day of the week that you speak on, whether it's the letter that's next to your name, you are leveraging all of those things to to have a foothold into this opportunity or this group of people. That's all it is. It's marketing.
I think the thing with him that you're trying to get Cole to say, so I'll jump in and say it for him because he doesn't want to, is as you listen to Mike and he goes through, he was reading and he said, they put
You
this on
just
the
want to
paper.
dunk him in a bucket of water?
Yeah. But what he's saying, we're all, a large majority of us are in agreement. It's not like
Yeah.
what
And
he's
that's the thing.
trying to make so fearful and so awful is really there, and you just wanna look at him and go, "Do you hear yourself?
Yeah. I
Do
don't think
Now,
that went the
do
way
don't
you
get me
expected.
wrong. There are some things on the Democratic Socialists of America agenda that are concerning.
Sure.
I don't necessarily agree with them wholeheartedly, but what he starts off with and what he is so apparently appalled by is something that A, most Americans agree and want, and
like
B,
abolishing the electoral college."
ranked choice voting and representative democracy. How dare we? And like, I'm not a socialist, but representative democracy sounds pretty good. Ranked choice voting sounds pretty good.
But that's the thing. You have the capacity to be curious about it and to pick and choose pieces to make up your mind because you're not ignorant. You can say, hey, I like and value and appreciate points 1, 2, and 3 while completely disagreeing with 4, 5, and 6.
I don't have to discount their everything in their agenda just because we don't have the same
Right,
letter next to our name.
right.
And you don't have an agenda.
I mean, I could still have an agenda.
We all have an agenda. It may be more or less self serving, but we all have an agenda.
I think that's valid. I think that has a tremendous amount of merit, personally.
Okay.
There are things that I want to occur. There are things that I am willing to do to make those things occur. That is an agenda.
Again, I go back to the map analogy that I've used in the past. We can all say, hey, we're going from point A to point B, but there may be a million different ways to get there, and it doesn't make any of them wrong.
Some of them may be wrong.
Some of them may be dangerous, or some of them may take longer, or some of them may lead you through a bad part of town, like whatever it may be. But it doesn't inherently make it wrong just because your way to get there is different than mine.
He, he, oh man, he gets on my nerves.
I do
Okay.
think that we need to remember though and kind of go back to the fact that we're sitting here having this conversation kind of I I am not trying to sit here and defend Mike Johnson by any stretch. I agree with
Better
you, Cole.
not.
He's a moron. But I also want to be very clear that we're not sitting here coming for conservative Christians or this group
No.
or that group or whatever it may be.
Because
We're
there are
just,
things that we agree on.
yes, but we are trying to have a conversation to delve deeper into what do we agree on and what don't we? What
Just because
is
I'm not a
interesting
conservative Christian doesn't mean that you should be afraid to have a conversation with me.
about conservative Christianity? Like, all of these things are up for debate and discussion and tolerance. I can have a conversation with you and disagree with you while still respecting you and your beliefs, even if they are not mine.
Sometimes. Sometimes
And I
that's
may
really
get
hard.
frustrated and I may
Mhm.
lash out and say, "What are you talking about? You're an idiot."
Or a smug bastard.
That too.
I mean, but if we're
He's
not
he's the, he's
willing
the
to
worst
have
of them.
that
He's the
conversation,
top of the pecking order in smug bastards.
if we're not willing to ask questions and if we're not willing to listen to the person on the other side of us, we're in trouble.
And here's the thing, Mike, I'd talk to you. I'd sit down and have a conversation with you, and it would be very likely that I'd call you an idiot at some point. But I'd still at
You know
least
what? I
attempt
don't
to
think
listen
you
to what you have to
would.
say.
You know, the reality of that, Cole, is that I don't think you would.
I probably would.
Yeah. At the
Mom,
very least,
I am
after he's
much
gonna
more
walk out of the
reserved with
room.
you than I am with most people.
But can't you see Cole walking out of the room and being like, "That smug bastard."
Yes, I can. But I also think that he would be willing to have a conversation with him.
Yes.
Sure.
And he might go, "I 100% disagree with you on this issue. What can we find that we do agree on? I'm gonna agree with you on
And
X."
that's the thing. There are lots of things that Mike Johnson and I agree on.
They're
I still
just
think he's an idiot. I still
taking
think
different
he's a smug
routes.
bastard.
Yeah.
That's kind of the whole point of the conversation, though.
It just feels like we've lost a measure somewhere here of being able to listen to each other.
We've gone so far to this generalization.
Yeah.
I don't dislike Mike Johnson because he's a Republican. I don't agree with being a Republican, but I don't think he's a bad person because he's a Republican. That's not the
No.
point. I don't dislike people because they're Democrats. I dislike them because of the policies that they do and don't agree with.
I think I'm gonna dislike you if you just continually say stupid things.
I mean
Cole has said for
that's a
years, "I
fast
hate
track for
stupid
me.
people." Yeah.
Yeah, that'll do it quick, fast, and in a hurry for me for sure. But even then, I would generally at least attempt to have a conversation. Everybody gets a try.
Yeah, you kinda have to prove to me.
How many tries?
I
It
don't know.
depends. It depends on how the first one goes.
You know what? And here's the deal, Cal. I don't want a hard number.
That's
I
why I asked, because I feel like that's really unfair.
I don't want a hard number. I don't wanna say, "You get 3 chances with me and I'm done."
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes that's
Now,
gonna be the
there are some
truth.
things you only get 3 chances about.
Sure.
Yeah, and if you are completely unkind and smug and continually say
Dense.
stupid things, I'm
Dense is a
pretty
great
much gonna
word.
be done. Yeah, because you've already shown me that there's not a path of conversation.
If no progress can be made, I am not going to waste my effort.
I'm not gonna sit there and beat myself against a brick wall. Now, if you wanna if you wanna say, "Hey, let's talk, let's figure out something."
And most of the time, progress can be made.
Progress over
And it may
perfection.
not be the first time. It may take 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times. But as long as you're willing to work towards something, I'll
That is in and of itself progress.
Well,
yeah, I'll keep coming to the table.
and I don't think that that's something that you're willing to work towards has to be defined. I think that it just has to be you have to be willing to understand something beyond your own, to accept something beyond
Yeah,
your own opinion.
yeah, I agree with that. But I don't want you to make other people the enemy. I I I I don't want you to tell me how bad so and so is or how evil they are.
I
I
want you to tell
just
me
wanna
what you think, what you can do,
yeah.
what work you're willing to put in.
Again, I'm going back to scripture here. Like in that Tim Whitaker bit, it's talking about like the man who is a Christ follower. Like we're not talking about Christ followers, but what is Christ calling us to do? What is the Bible calling us to do? Love. Love one another.
Period.
Love your neighbors. Love each other. That's it.
There aren't very many rules put on that say if he wears a red tie, you can't like him.
Yeah. Love him until.
Yeah,
Love him unless.
that's just not it. I mean, you look at the Good Samaritan story, there are so many biblical stories that totally negate that idea that if you want to convince me that you are a Christian, but that's all you do and that is your go-to, then I am not going to believe that in your faith. I'm I you've shown
There
me
are a
that it's
lot there I wanna clarify. There are also a lot of biblical stories that would very much solidify and back up that perspective that you're talking about. None of them are in red.
So, all right, who's got a weird thought?
So I have a weird thought, and I think that it is especially relevant given this conversation. I can't even remember exactly how it started, but I want to know, at what point do each of you start writing people off or judging people for using words that they clearly don't know the meaning of?
Fast.
I think it depends on how much they entertain me in the course of doing that.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Oh.
Generally, I don't find it that entertaining. There are certainly scenarios, situations, sure, but generally, I find you're trying to look smarter than you are.
Aren't we all?
Sure,
But I understand you're
it's
saying that there's a difference when
different.
you're trying to use large words and big vocabulary to make yourself look and sound more
To puff
important.
up your
But if you
chest.
don't know the meaning of those words and you misuse them, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot
Yeah, if you're doing it to try and hide your own stupidity, it is counterintuitive to your efforts, counterproductive to your efforts,
for sure.
and that just gets under my skin.
And have I ever
You
used a
know how
word
I am with
wrong?
stupid people? I do it all the time. And then I go back and I look it up and I say, "I used that word wrong." And then I go back to the people that I said it to and I say, "Hey, sorry, I used that word wrong. This is what I meant."
Yeah.
I think for me as a mom, I just one of you will go, "That's not how you use that," or "That no, mom, don't use that word again." I remember using one
D
other
different
the other
things,
day, and
but
y'all went, "Don't use that word again."
what was it?
I can't tell you on this.
I was trying, it was
I'm
worth a shot.
I'm not allowed
She's
to.
learning. She's learning. We're all learning.
But
Goodness.
I mean, seriously, some of the funniest things that you guys said as little kids with when you were trying to use words that you were
That's
just learning.
different. That's little kids, that's
No,
different.
it's not
They're
different.
they're
We're
barely even
all
people yet,
we're w I mean, you just have to look to see if they're
You just give them
learning
more
it.
of a pass. You give kids more
Yeah,
of a pass than we do as
yeah.
adults. You should be old enough to know that irregardless is not a word.
and that a lot
And
is
yet
too.
it is used all of the time.
That's one of those ones that just
Man, I get so mad at myself. I have so like, it's just a habit when I'm typing on a keyboard, it's always apostrophe RE, and every time I'm just like, "Damn it." I have to go back and I'm like, "I'm sorry, I know the difference. It's muscle memory. I'm really sorry. I'm not an idiot."
Sure, Cole, sure, just muscle memory.
we need a good news story. Who's got one?
Oh, I have a sweet one. So, a TikTok went viral called "Take Your Earpods Out." AirPods Out, I think is what it was called. And it turns out that a girl has been traveling. She gets on a New York train. She's just trying to get home. She's got her earbuds in, not communicating, but she hears this person speak to her. So and I can see this because I know how I would do it. I would remove that earbud and go, "Yes." And she asked her just a general question, "Where have you been?" And so she answers her and she puts her earbud back, and
Socialize.
then the woman asks her another question, and don't you know, she's just thinking, "Do you know?"
Stop
Because
talking to
"Leave me
me.
I
Stop talking to
alone.
me.
Do you
Stop
not
talking to
see
me.
these earbuds, lady?"
yeah, but she ends up
I'm the same way.
taking her earbuds out and finding out about this sweet lady. She was 81 years old. She had become a widow at, I don't know, when she was young, in her late 20s, lost her daughter. She'd moved from Puerto Rico 70 years before, had never been back. Uh, I mean, and she just and this girl had just come from Spain, and the lady was like, "Oh, I could never do that. That would just scare me too much to travel like that." And she said, "Well, I'll go with you. You know, you decide you wanna go, you call me, and I'll go with you." Which she said at the time she was saying it, she's thinking, "Why are you telling her this?" And at the same time, she's like, I would do this. I would go with her." So over the course of the train ride, Maria, the lady who's 81, shared pieces of her life, and eventually Molly, the young woman, goes back and she posts this video about meeting Maria on the train, and it goes viral. And she calls Maria and she goes, "Oh my gosh, we went viral." And so it's that mentality of taking an opportunity and making something of it, even when it wasn't what you really planned to do, and
That was against what you wanted.
against what you wanted. But I mean, these two, a 27-year-old and an 81-year-old, have become such good friends that they meet on a weekly basis. And Molly shares videos called Mondays with Maria, and they've decided to take a trip. And they're going. I think she's taking her back to Puerto Rico. They're going to see if they can find any of her relatives. And here's the fun part. Delta has jumped in and said, "Hey, we'll foot the bill on the tickets." And Hilton said, "We'll make sure you get a reservation in a nice hotel." And this one has said, "Hey, we'll cover your Uber so that you can get where you want to go." And so next month they're traveling together to go back. And she's doing it with Maria to keep her from being scared and from, not knowing what to do because she's never never traveled like that on her own. Two friends that far apart in age over a conversation. And even Maria said, "I don't know why I asked. I don't know why I started that conversation. I just needed to." And all of these good and great things have come from two questions asked to a lady with her earbuds in.
Because somebody was willing to listen
So
and somebody was willing to ask.
it takes both.
Yeah,
It really does take both. So I hope they have a fabulous trip and that we get to hear more about how they did.
that'd be awesome.
Fun deal. Commend them both.
Curiosity over convenience. I
So
love it. Good message. I love you guys.
be nice, ask questions, listen.
I don't know about the nice part. We'll see.
Love
Love
you
I'll
guys.
y'all.
try. Love you.